We have now almost 1 hour together, and I want to show you first what we are going to do today together. And of course, it will be also interactive. So wake up, so to say, ask your questions, participate with us. We are super curious to see what questions you bring to the table. So let's see what's on our agenda today. First, I will introduce us so that you know who is now sitting in front of you, basically, virtually. Then I want to quickly jump into the agile way of working because, of course, some of you might be experts in it, some others not. So I want to make sure that at least the basics are there, that we all talk about the same words for today. Then topic number 3 will be a deep dive into Smartsheet. We will take a look at our agile environment in Smartsheet, and we will specifically focus on the topic of the backlog refinement and the sprint planning. So it will be basically a bit of a dialogue between my expert Matteo and myself. And with that, we want to show you how you can do your sprint planning within Smartsheet. In the second use case here under the bullet point number 4, we will focus more on the team and stakeholder visibility. So in the daily stand up, for instance, what would you use in Smartsheet to show where you're at in the current sprint? How would you do that? So that's the second use case. And last but not least, we of course also planned some time for a Q&A session. Actually, we have about 15 minutes for that. So it would be amazing if you just collect your questions during the session. You can also add them. I will show you in a second where you can find this. You can also just add them to our chat. I have a whole team supporting me today to look at those questions so that we make sure we answer everything in the end. And if not, we for sure will find a way to answer those questions that you have. So my name is Chrissy. I'm Senior Solutions Consultant at AMX since 3.5 years. Before I worked in management consulting, I have a business psychology background, and I love working with Smartsheet. We have a lot of global customers I work with on long-term projects, and it's amazing to see that you can use Smartsheet for such a big variety of different use cases. And especially the agile way of working, since I'm technically a psychologist, is super interesting for me. So I'm happy to be your host today to guide you through it, to show you what Smartsheet can do for you. And of course, I'm not a one-woman show. I have a great team behind me, and my colleague Matteo, I'm super happy to have him here. And please share a bit about yourself, Matteo.
Yeah, first of all, hi everyone, and thank you for taking the time to be with us today. My name is Matteo. I'm a solution consultant at AMX, have been for the past almost 3 years. I have a background in computer science, have worked 7-8 years in the software management field. So I'm also pretty familiar with the different ways of working, especially Agile, and I'm really excited to see how Smartsheet can be tailored and customized to fit everybody's needs. So today I'll be helping Chrissy with a more technical side of things. You will see we'll be bouncing the ball a little bit between me and her. And yeah, hopefully I will be able to also answer all your curiosities and questions at the end of the webinar. So back to you, Chrissy, for the presentation.
Thank you so much, Matteo. And I'm pretty sure you will be able to answer all the questions. And talking about questions, we are now in the Zoom webinar, and I know some of you use it, some might not use Zoom, but here you find a little screenshot of how the symbol looks like for you to put questions into the system. So really this webinar lives from your participation. So what we like to have would be some questions of you that we can answer in the end. So here you can see where to find it, and I hope you find it. If not, please just let me know in some ways. So that's the thing. Use that during the session whenever something is unclear, something comes up and you think, wait a second, what do they mean? Just text it into the Q&A panel and we will talk about it in our last agenda point. Okay, now a quick introduction. I'm pretty sure you heard about Smartsheet before, and this software comes from the US market, where more than 90% of the Fortune 100 companies are using that for their core business processes. It arrives, of course, in our region, in EMEA, in the DACH region as well. It is growing pretty fast here. We have a lot of customers using that tool, and it's more and more customers see the value of that great tool. It even received a Customer Choice Award, and it's really an amazing tool that can help us with our daily work. And we as AMX, we are Smartsheet Platinum partner. We have been founded in 2017 and are based in Germany with our headquarter in Germany, but also our team is globally distributed. So where we are basically where our customers are. We are in different countries. We speak more than 15 different languages in our team, and we are the most certified partner for Smartsheet EMEA. So we are really working very closely together with them. We are basically one family, one team together fighting to reach the goals of our customers. And we are very happy to have the chance to do the webinar. And we really love Smartsheet. We implement it every day. And we are really proud to have these awards, to do all the certification, and to showcase how we can help your businesses to grow with Smartsheet together. Okay, so in order to really understand about Smartsheet and how it can help you for agile way of working, it is very crucial to understand how today's work environment changes. So of course we are dealing with some economic headwinds. We work in a world that is very complex, that is changing fastly. So every day we are confronted with different things, different tasks. We need to prioritize again. We need to take a look at things again and kind of realign with the current situation. So that can really lead to stress. It can lead to errors, and it can lead to actually losing money because of errors that we then make. So we need definitely a tool that's flexible enough to cope with those challenges and also to be tailored to our needs and our businesses. So what we don't want a software where we are a slave to it. What we want is a software that solves our problems and that helps us with today's complexity. Good. Smartsheet is an enterprise work management platform. So the aim is here to enable everyone to work better, but to have also a tool that's scalable, that's growing with you. And it's really about collaboration. So it's about managing projects, programs, processes, and work together as human beings in this complex environment. And that's why it's such a great fit for agile way of working, because as we all know, in the agile way of working, we focus on collaboration between each other. We are not focusing to fit to a specific tool, to fit to a specific process. We are focusing on the results. We are focusing on working together in a good way. And just one example of one of Smartsheet's customers that shows you that, yes, you can use a tool and have then success with it. Here, for instance, the well-known customer Uber is stating that Smartsheet helps supporting to work agile in unexpected changes, with unexpected changes, within challenges. It helps them to be efficient, to be productive. So the question is now, of course, how did they do it? How did they succeed with this tool? How was the setup maybe? And what we bring you today is one example of how agile working in Smartsheet can be done. It's of course an example that is just showcasing how things can be. It's highly customizable. But let's first, before tackling that topic, quickly wrap up what agile methodology actually means and what we want to talk about today. So work has changed, volatility has increased. So the planned work and standard work, it's still there, of course, we still do this, but the unplanned part of work nowadays has increased. So the weight here is getting heavier, it's getting more focused. And we have two approaches that are very common to deal with the daily work. one on the left-hand side would be the classical waterfall approach. So here, the scope on top is fixed. It's what you align on first with your stakeholders. And then you adjust the resources and also the time. This we can of course realize in Smartsheet, typically with a Gantt chart, with dependencies. It's a great use case. We can realize that. But sometimes for some projects, a different approach is a better fit, which is the agile one. Or maybe you want to combine both in a hybrid way, which is also possible. For the agile way of working, we have fixed resources, our team, we have a fixed time, we work in sprints, and then the scope is the one that we adjust. So here, our weekly and daily discussions are around the scope. When are the release dates? What are we going to reach in the sprints? That's what we need to plan. And that's why the setup in Smartsheet has to be different than from the waterfall method. It's a different setup, different things that we need. And here's an overview what different we then implemented in Smartsheet, realized in Smartsheet for you guys. We have different roles like the product owner, the team, the Scrum master, and the stakeholders. We have different rituals and we have different artifacts. So, sprint planning, daily scrum, sprint retrospective, and the sprint review are part of the rituals. And then we have different artifacts like our backlog, the sprint backlog, and then particularly the velocity chart and burn down chart that we want to show you that we realized within Smartsheet. So let's not just talk about it. Let's just quickly go into the use cases into Smartsheet. So you saw the overview. This is what can be done in an agile way of working, the different elements. And this is what we are going to show you now in the first use case. So the question is how the product owner can groom the backlog, prioritize with the team, and plan the sprint. So we are dealing with the sprint planning, with the product backlog. How does that look like? And here now Matteo has to be getting ready because now we are actually going into Smartsheet. You can still see my screen with my hard view of my backlog within Smartsheet. And here I see now all the user stories that I have by the different teams. So I have Bugdroid, iFruit, Shine, and Quad. So that's my overview. That's what the different teams are working at on the different user stories. So now let's say I have my backlog, my product backlog here. I'm the product owner. And now I want to go ahead in the sprint planning and actually plan out the different user stories, the tasks below. I want to estimate the workload. So Matteo, this view, it shows me now all the teams, but I'm managing Team iFruit. What can I do to just see their use cases?
Yeah, that's actually very easy. So you can click on the filter drop down, and you can see there are some predefined filter, one per
Yes.
team. You can also create your own custom filters, and you can see then that only the stories for your team are visualized. And I would suggest, for example, if you want to do some backlog refinement first, to change the view, and instead of viewing by team, since now we're only focusing on your team, to, for example, change the view to by status. So we can see, for example, that there is a new iOS feature. It's still uncategorized, so probably there's something missing there, and we can maybe double click on it and start adding the information that's missing and simulate, for example, a backlog refinement session. I can see, for example, criteria are missing, so maybe you are the product owner and you want to fill this in and complete everything
That's
that's missing.
amazing. That's really good. Actually, yes, I was working on that and I have my acceptance criteria. So let me quickly paste that in here. I have done my work, I have defined it, and then I can save it to that card. And now I have saved it to that user story, right, Matteo? So now I actually
Correct.
can categorize it as defined, no? So that should
Yes.
be easy. Drag and drop. Perfect. Now it's in the right category. And that's amazing. Now I have basically defined my user story. I can open it up. I can check for the acceptance criteria. It's perfect. Now, Matteo, if I'm in the sprint planning, I realize I have not added any tasks to that user story. How can I do this? How can I add more tasks to it?
Yeah, that's also very easy. So you can click on the three dots on the top right corner, and among other actions, you can add a subtask. There's also a keyboard shortcut for the most um, keyboard ninjas. You can click there, and you can start adding subtasks. You can add 2, 3 sample
Oh,
subtasks for this. And
that's amazing.
by the way, while Chrissy maybe adds a couple of subtasks, this can be used for tasks, but it can also be used for acceptance criteria or anything else that you want to have visualized in the card right below the stories. Also, a checkbox could be added, for example, to complete tasks directly from the card if that's what you want to do.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. That was very helpful. Now I can also zoom a bit in. I have my user story. I want a new iOS feature. It's assigned to that team, to one of my colleagues, and then I have created the different tasks below it that need to be accomplished for that particular user story. Super amazing. So now I want to talk with my team on the effort that it takes to complete this user story. So usually we work in story points. Matteo, can you tell me where I can find that, where I can do that best?
Yes, absolutely. So then all you need to do is to change the view once more and go, for example, by story points here. So you can see there are already drop-down values. Each lane is
Mm-hmm.
one drop-down value, is a Fibonacci progression, like normally it's done. So yeah, you can take, for example, your new iOS feature, discuss it with your team, and then drop it wherever you feel the estimation goes.
Perfect. Let's say we put it here into 5 story points. Amazing. And all this information, it's directly saved, right? So for that user story, I have now all the information together, that it has 5 points and so on. I have the subtasks. So basically, when I open it, I have all the information together. That is so practical. Yeah, here are the story points. Amazing, amazing. Cool. So now I can also see to whom it is assigned, right? And let's say, is there a possibility, Matteo, for me to cluster those cards by assigned person? Like this is, for instance, Monica's task. This is for Timon, Martin.
Yeah, once again, the view by is our best friend. So you can change and to assign to, for example, in this case, and you can see, for example, the workload. In this case, everybody has one user story.
Ah, perfect.
Um, and also, of
Yeah.
course, the card layout itself is heavily, as those of you familiar with Smartsheet know, heavily customizable. If you can show very quickly the settings for the card layout, you can see that any value that is in the underlying sheet can be shown in the card or not, according to what you want.
Yes. That's amazing. That's really, really practical. So this card view here would be the go-to view for us to work in the sprint planning session. So that means we can work with the filters. We can also view by certain information, for instance, by the assigned to person, by status, or by story points. And we can directly switch between the different elements or the different views, so to say, without losing any information. So it's all one system and we can all look at it and work on it. And since Smartsheet is a cloud-based software, Matteo, it's true that multiple people of my team can open up this sheet, right? There is no restriction. We can be also 20 people looking at that sheet, opening that up and adding information to it, correct?
Correct. And Smartsheet is working also really hard to improve even more the collaboration functionality, so you can expect even more exciting features to come for real-time collaboration in the future.
That's so amazing. Glad to hear that. Very nice. So this is the way how we can do the sprint planning. Um, we have now the overview, what our team is working on, and we have defined one user story here. We have added the tasks to it. We know now how long that would take, and this is what we are currently working on in the particular sprint. So of course, we can set up filters. We can only review the stories that we are currently working on in the current sprint. We can also check what's in the current sprint for the whole organization, not only that team. So Smartsheet is really flexible with the views and what actually you want to see. You can create your own filters and your own views and then use it with your team. So it's very, very handy and a very great tool to plan with and to combine all the information. And the nice thing is, that's not all. So when we talk now about the second use case, which I will introduce in a minute, we see that this is basically the lowest level, so to say, where actually we update on the different tasks and user stories that we are working on. But all that information is then taken and it's basically flying into a dashboard where we can then see metrics on it and charts on it. And that will be now the second step, which I would like to introduce you to. And let's jump quickly back to the presentation. So we saw now the product backlog. We saw how we can define the different elements there for our sprint planning. And now, secondly, what about the daily stand up and the sprint review? So these things are also very important. And for these elements, we prepared a different kind of view, a so-called dashboard in Smartsheet, where the information that we just saw are basically summarized in a way that helps us to understand where we are standing at in the current sprint. So let us quickly take a look at that. And this is how it actually looks like. It's a nice dashboard. We have a first section where we see an overview. So we have the KPIs of the current sprint regarding time, scope, resources, and risk. So we see the sprint health currently. We see the percentage of closed stories, so the ones that we have already completed. We see if there's a blocked story in here, so somebody flagged a story. We will also show how this is done in a second. And we can also see how many days there are until the sprint, the current sprint, is ending. So this, Matteo, tell me, is it always looking the same, or can I also customize this?
No, absolutely. You can make whatever you want. The Smartsheet dashboard. Maybe you can show if you click the edit that all of these are widgets. And you know, for those of you that are unfamiliar with Smartsheet, everything that you see is 100% custom. So you can put whatever metrics, chart, reports. You can embed web material. You can really do make it your own custom dashboard to answer all your needs. So here we decided to show some standard metrics or some standard scenario, but of course this can be really made yours by adding whatever fits your need the most.
Yes, really, really nice. And that's actually a very good thing because then you know that you can really customize it and tailor it to your needs. And when we're talking about the daily stand-up, what I wanted to show as well is, of course, in such a meeting, we will review the stories that we are currently working on, and we will also talk about blockers and problems. So let's pretend that for the app release Play Store, we would have a blocker. It's in progress, but Martin tells me, look, there is an issue. I cannot finish that in time. Matteo, can you tell me how I can actually mark that as blocked?
Yeah, absolutely. It's super easy. You can double click to start editing the story, and then there is a block flag right on top. If need be, you can also, for example, add a comment using the conversation feature, tag your colleague that you know is responsible for the blocker, or anyway can help you unblock this, or maybe a Scrum Master, or whatever, and you know, put a comment there, and this will in turn trigger a notification, and basically you can you know try to keep things rolling and not be blocked for a long time. And also you can see now the card is colored in red. This is a conditional formatting rule. And again, like anything else, it can be heavily customized. You can decide to color your card by team assigned, by status, by whatever you think it's best for you.
Yes, perfect, amazing. And that's a great way to directly see what might be at risk. And for us in the communication with the team, it's really crucial to have that visibility, to be able to talk about it, to not just push emails out to each other, but really have one system where all the information is centralized. And what I particularly like is the comment function in here, because you can start a conversation on particular user stories or even on the subtasks, or you can create a conversation on the full backlog if it's a more general topic. Of course, you can also add attachments. So in any case, if you have additional documents regarding that particular user story, you're able to add that as well via the attachment section, either here or directly in the card. And that allows you also to give additional context to your colleagues to submit some more information so that they can understand better where you are standing at. And yeah, for the daily stand-up, definitely a very practical view. Now, of course, it's not only this view we can look at, we can also go back to the dashboard. And we see now that we have actually a new blocked story. Before it was one, now we have two because I just marked another one as blocked. And if we click on that widget, we can even get a summary for the current team, what the blocker is, and we can then directly update it from here. Then going back to the dashboard, we have everything that we need to work on linked into the dashboard itself. So you can see from here, we can jump to the backlog, and from the backlog, we can then, via this little shortcut in the sheet summary, we can go directly back to the dashboard again. Then, of course, there are some metrics in the background where we can actually calculate things. So when I scroll down a bit on that dashboard, you will see that there are different charts, like a burn down chart, for instance. And this, of course, requires some statistics, which are lying in that metrics sheet. And we have also an entry point for the different sprint dates and for the release dates, which we can see summarized here under the time aspect of the dashboard. We see when are the releases planned, and I can just zoom in a little bit for you guys. We can see this is our release plan. We can see in what sprint we are currently in the third one until 24th of June. And we can here also see all the future releases and what actually is released in those future releases that are happening. And the next release is on the 16th of June. So the team knows, okay, we have to do our work to be able to release the feature until that date. And we need to be careful because the sprint health is not green and we have some blocked stories that we need to talk about. So these core indications help us to navigate through the sprint and to exactly know where we are standing at the sprint, which is super important. As you can imagine, we want to directly, openly discuss those topics with our team and not wait too long. Then let me quickly log in and share you another nice feature here. This is another view of our data. So you remember that we were working in the iFruit team and we have been working on defining some user stories, for instance, for the new iOS feature. And this is exactly what we can see here. We can have that in the calendar view and then see in a more visually appealing way when things are happening. The nice thing is also from this view, we can just double click on the user stories and add attachments to them, comments to them from here. You see the comment on the blocked app release Play Store feature that we are having here. We can also see that from this view. So you have one system. You don't need to worry about copying things over. It's all connected. Okay. And you can still see my screen, right? It's all good, all working. Perfect. Nice. Now, Matteo, my favorite part of your solution, the charts. Would you mind explaining us a bit what about the velocity chart? What does it show us?
Yes, absolutely. So the velocity chart basically collects data about how many story points are committed versus how many story points are completed. In this case, across all teams for each sprint. So you can see, well, the dummy data is not really super realistic, but you can see, for example, that in the current sprint there are 24 story points committed, only 3 completed. So it means that there's still a lot to do, but the sprint is not completed yet. And of course, again, this chart can be customized the way you want. well, the burn down chart is a pretty standard burn down chart for the sprint. And you can see the green line is the planned velocity. So there are 26, I guess, story points for this sprint. And you can see the red line, which is the actual completion. So right now, for example, if this were to be a real use case, you can see we're behind. So we should try to speed things up, or at least understand what's going on with the sprint. But it's already an indicator that something is not going according to plan.
Okay, so in that case, oh my God, my team and I have to work a bit harder, right? That's not a good stage. Yes.
Correct.
Nice. Okay, so we see here basically the accumulated story points for each category here, and we see how much we have already completed over all teams. Of course, we can create that also per team to have visibility in the performance of the different teams. That would be no problem at all. And very good to see what we are standing at work-wise. Also, most of my customers have asked me, Chrissy, is it possible to create a burn down chart in Smartsheet? And Matteo actually realized it. So answer is yes, he did it. Here it is. So what we see here is from the stories that we've actually accomplished, the user points are added up here, and we can see what we have planned to do through the time and what we actually did. So, Matteo, what is your opinion on that chart, and can you explain a bit around it?
Yeah, as I said, I mean, this is normally the main chart that tells people how the sprint is going, especially if it's across multiple teams. You can have an overall view about what's going on, and it's actually again not that difficult once you know where to collect the data and how to collect the data to have it customized. You can see what the one for the current sprint. You can also have the history of all the past sprint, for example, if you wanted to. And once again, this is probably the one chart that you must have on your Agile dashboard if you want to keep things under control.
Yes, correct. Perfect. And then, of course, we can also look into the teams and into resources. So it's always crucial to know who is working with you on what. So here you can have an overview, basically, what the team is working on and who is part of the team. So we see, for instance, that the team iFruit, of how many people they basically consist and how much capacity they have. So we actually see for that sprint what are the team's constellations and how much capacity do they have. Okay, good. Of course, and that's just a small point apart. Additionally to what we saw, we can also manage risks within Smartsheet. So for instance, here we see the user story that have been tagged as risked or blocked. And we can also, apart from that, have different entries. And that's just a side note. We can have a sort of risk tracker where the people working on your Agile project can basically submit risks, actions, issues, or decisions to be made. So that could be also a useful add-on for your Agile workspace to have that. Good. So coming back to the presentation, we saw now in the second use case how we can work with that system for our daily Scrum meetings, for instance. So here the focus was more about visibility for the different stakeholders. We saw that the dashboard is highly customizable and that data that is coming from our backlog is directly influencing what we see on the dashboard. So it's automatically updating, it's automatically refreshing. You don't have to copy paste data from somewhere into a presentation anymore. You can just see the live data in the dashboard. Good. And now we have the Q&A session, and I see that we have also some questions already in the Q&A panel. But first, I would like to give you some more time maybe to elaborate on more questions. I think let's take maybe a short minute or something like this for you guys to just reflect on what we just showed you, so that you're able to ask more questions. So here actually I can open up again the dashboard so you see a bit around the different topics that we saw. And maybe you can just take your time and just add some more questions that you have around it. It can be very specific questions like around the setup. It can be general questions around the way of working in Smartsheet. Just feel free, use some seconds or some time to reflect. And meanwhile, we are also checking your questions in the Q&A panel. Okay, let me check. Now we need a nice waiting music, like in waiting room music or elevator music. Okay, there are actually more questions coming in. That's really nice. And I would say that I kind of, Matteo, if you want, either you can lead for the questions or I can go through it. I can ask it to you and then make it some sort of interview style. Shall we?
Sure. Sure. Then I guess I can maybe read out the question, and then I will guide you through the answer, so you can show what's being asked. Let's wait maybe one more minute for people to ask questions, and then we can start.
Yes. And thank you guys for the participation. I already see that more people are asking questions. Okay.
Okay, then
I think starting, yes.
Let's start. So first of all, we have an anonymous attendee asking, how can we edit the card? In my card, I do not have categories such as acceptance criteria and team. It is true, we didn't really show what's behind the card. So maybe, Chris, if you can open the backlog once more and switch this time to the grid view, which is a more...
Your dreams come true, Matteo. Now we are in a technical view.
Yeah. So this is the main view that is probably useful for setting this up. You can see there are multiple columns, and each column can be a field shown in the card, or it can be just there and not shown in the card, but still useful for other purposes. You can see, for example, the acceptance criteria is a text column. The team, for example, should be a drop-down. And by the way, if you want to be able to sort the cards like in a view by team, view by status, as we did before, you need it to be a drop-down, a single select drop-down. That's what tells the system that, okay, this is suitable for being a lane in the card view. There are other types of columns. For those of you unfamiliar with Smartsheet, for example, dates, checkboxes, all kinds of symbols, contacts, which allows you also to trigger notifications. For example, when I assign somebody to something, I want to send a notification, or maybe when a deadline comes, or any other reason. Smartsheet is highly customizable, and also there's a lot of automation possible. So here, what you would need, just to wrap up the first answer, you basically sit down and add a column for each attribute that you need. Like, for example, acceptance criteria team. Maybe you have other, for example, we have one column for epic or feature, which might be useful or not, depending on how you work. And again, there's no limit to this. You can add up to 400 columns. So I'm sure that there are more than enough columns to accommodate all your needs. So I hope that this answers the question. Then
I hope to.
Then again, maybe we can go to this a lot. I hope that the pronunciation is right. I am not using the backlog currently, nor the dashboard. Where do I find these? The backlog, we're showing it right now. So you need to first create a Smartsheet. So the assumption is that you first created a sheet. In Smartsheet, there are 3 objects: sheets, reports, and dashboards mainly. So the sheet is exactly like you are seeing right now. And then you set it up the way you want with all the columns. And then the dashboard is a different Smartsheet object. Maybe, Chrissy, you can see how you can show how it's created, basically, like an empty dashboard, just to show the action of creating a dashboard. And it's very easy. You set up a new dashboard. At the beginning, it's going to be empty. Maybe, Chrissy, if you open it, and then you can start adding widgets, and their end result will be something like the one we showed in the presentation. There are multiple types of widgets. So initially, you don't find these, although there are some templates in the Smartsheet, but you can also start them from scratch if you want to have fun, shaping it really the way you want it.
Perfect.
Yeah, then we have another anonymous attendee, for example, asking, how could you handle multiple people working on the same story? If you go back maybe to the backlog, Chrissy, you can, if you go to the assignee, for example, assign to column and double click on the header, you can see that you can allow multiple contacts per cell. So in your case, there are multiple people assigned, you can put more people to a story. They will share everything in the story. If you have a different task, I mean, ideally, the best practice would be to only assign one person. And if you have multiple people working on the same story, they're probably working on different tasks. So you create different tasks for these people and keep the story assigned to the main responsible for the story. But of course, nothing stops you from having more people responsible. Just tick that option and you can add more people there. Then what else can we see? For example, there's Stefan asking, will you share the template? After the call, after the webinar, probably between here and tomorrow, we'll send a recap email. It will be all the content recording of the session, and we will share not actually the whole template, but at least a little bit of what we showed today, so that you can take inspiration and see how we did things, and maybe try to understand the criteria, the rationale behind our setup. Let me scroll through the question. There are more and more questions coming.
Or maybe a short one. Christopher asked, can colors be adapted of cards in the calendar view, IA for a flagged issue? Yes, that can be also done in the calendar view that I showed. It's not implemented right now, but yes, we can, of course, have different colors. So here, this calendar view. And yeah, there are different options of how to color it. I chose a color by team, but you could also say you color it by blocked, yes, no, and you can mark them then red or have it in separate lanes. The one that are blocked, for instance, could be red and in a separate lane, so to say. Yes, but basically the coloring in the backlog is also very important. If we go back to the card view, and Matteo, please feel free to add. But here we have all the user stories across all teams, and here we see the ones that are flagged, that are marked automatically in red.
Yeah, correct. You can create rules to automatically add the color, or you can add them manually if you prefer to have it manual. Let's see if we have other questions. For example, we have one question. Jolie asks, is it possible to visualize the cardboard as Gantt too, or can we combine more than one cardboard in one graph? I mean, the short answer is that everything is possible. In our setup, since normally in Agile, I mean, there's only the sprint dates, that there's no start and end date for a single task or story. But of course, if you add those, then you can maybe you can show the Gantt. Right now, it will not be telling a lot, Chrissy, but just to show that the Gantt is possible. Okay, not on this sheet, because again, you need a start and end date. Then you can show the Gantt. Otherwise, the system will tell you, well, I don't know what to show. But yes, that's the short answer. And also, you can combine multiple board into one graph. If you have different sheets for different backlogs, you can use reports to combine the data into a single consolidated view, and then be it a grid view, a Gantt view, or a card view, you can choose how to display that, or even a chart in the dashboard, for example. You can use reports to consolidate different sheets into a single view. And there's one other question from Jan asking, is there a way to build burn down chart, etc., whilst bringing the data from Jira as developers work in there? The answer there is also yes. There is a specific premium application in Smartsheet that is called the Jira connector, which does exactly that. So you build a connection between your Jira server and Smartsheet, and you can sync your data one way, two ways, how you want it. You can choose which fields you want to sync, and then you can really, for example, your developers can still be using Jira, but then you can elaborate on the data and maybe add some high level view like the dashboards for your C-level people or for other stakeholders that are not interested in the technical details in Smartsheet. Which also comes to the other questions we have from Edita, who asks, what are the advantages of using Smartsheet over Jira in Agile project management? For me, it would be that's a lot more flexible. You can add a lot of different layers to the data, while Jira is, of course, also really good for pure software development or for pure project management in that sense. Smartsheet have another dimension in automations, customizations of all the views and dashboards. So you can really let's say, enhance your collaboration with Smartsheet and add more visibility or more sorry, presentation layers to the data that is laying in Jira. So it can actually also be a good combination to have Smartsheet on top of Jira. You don't have to necessarily drop Jira if that's what you've been using for a lot of time.
Yes, and just to add that we do it a lot, that we integrate Jira with Smartsheet. It's actually, Smartsheet is like a very flexible tool to integrate in your tool stack. So usually we connect it, and then in Smartsheet we focus on the automation part to remind people automatically of deadlines coming up, of release dates coming up, and we use it for the whole communication via the conversations panel, the attachments panel. So it becomes like the centralized place, and then it's synced into Jira as well. And yeah, bi-directional. Perfect. Thanks, Matteo. Do you want to pick a next question? We still have 7 minutes. Maybe we can get them all. Let's see.
Yeah, when we'll have, for example, Christopher asking, can you provide a larger scale solution with multiple teams and stages implemented using Agile methodology? And again, the short answer is always yes. If you switch back to the grid view, for example, here you can see there is a simple hierarchy. Maybe expand one user story to show the tasks below. There's just two levels of the hierarchy, story and task, but this is just one way of doing things. If you have multiple levels in the hierarchy, maybe you work with epic or features or whatever, it can be arranged that way. And really it can accommodate pretty much anything you want to throw at it. For example, for one customer, we had a hybrid approach because for each story they used to have design, implementation, and testing phases, which are typical of the waterfall approach. But you can incorporate that. That's the beauty of a Smartsheet. Often the difference between what Agile should be and what Agile is in practical terms is huge. So this can help you fill the gap and really make things work, even though you're not following 100% of the Agile guidelines, or you're still transitioning from a waterfall approach to Agile or whatever else. And yeah, maybe Chrissy, you can also show, if you want to show an example of a dashboard for a big scale, for a more scaled solution. You can open it up. I think we have the link directly in the chat.
Here we go.
So you can see, for example, you have here you have what it's called work stream instead of teams, but the idea is the same. So you have, if you scroll down a little bit and show, all different sort of charts, it's kind of the same, similar to what we showed in the demo, but more for a scale solution. So yeah, in general, flexibility and personalization is one of the strongest point of Smartsheet. So whenever you have a question, is it possible to do? 99% of the time, the answer is yes. It's just a matter of deciding what you want and translating it into sheets or reports or dashboards.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So we have 5 more minutes. Maybe we can focus on the anonymous ones, because for the ones that are asking questions with their name, we can also get back to you with an answer via email after the webinar.
Yeah, maybe one super quick one from an anonymous attendee said, I've only been assigned tasks so far. The view seems to be a different version, more Excel style. Are there different versions on the market? I think we already kind of answered this one. So there is a grid. It's not really there are different versions on the market. It's the same product, just offering you all kinds of possibility. You can show it in a grid view, which is the more Excel style traditional view that you mentioned. You can be a Gantt, it can be a card, or it can be a calendar, for example. There are multiple ways of showing your data. So the short answer is, like, once again, yes, that's possible.
And there's one more anonymous one, which I can take. Could you please make an example how you're showing adding your calendar view per team in your dashboard? So I can just quickly show how the calendar view is added. So basically, in the launcher, if you have access to the modules, to the further modules of Smartsheet, you open the calendar view from here, then set up your view there, and this view will have a unique URL. And what you then basically do on the dashboard is you copy out that URL from your created calendar view and use then a so-called web widget, web content widget. Here you can see, if I double click on it, how it's looking like. And it has here the possibility to enter the URL from your calendar view, and you click on apply, and then your calendar view will be embedded onto your dashboard. Yes. Good. Matteo, back to you. We have still 3 minutes.
I think we can make use of these 3 minutes to kind of wrap this up so that
Yes.
everybody knows what to expect from now on. So maybe Chris, back to you if you want to explain
Yes,
what's going to happen now.
exactly. So first of all, thanks a lot for this active participation with the questions. We will definitely reach out to you after that webinar with a follow-up email and provide the recording and also the link to like a simple version of the template for you. And then we are also reaching out to you for the questions. Here you can see everything that I just said. So you can get access to what we showed you, like a lighter version of it, basically. And we also have a nice gift for you in case you think that we are fun to work with and have also some knowledge. We have a little registration link that we will send, and you can apply for a little free Agile with Smartsheet consulting meeting with one of us. So it can be of interest, especially if you want to know more about how to implement Smartsheet for your company, for your business processes. Um, we will be asking some questions, of course, to see what you're looking for and see if we can help you with that. And I'm really, really happy that we can offer that to you so that you can leverage us a bit, leverage our knowledge, which we are happy to share. And yeah, that's basically it from us. And I hope you enjoyed today's session. You could take something with you for that topic. And yeah, back to my colleague Matteo for your goodbye as well, your goodbye words.
Yeah, again, thanks everybody for taking the time to be with us today. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully, we've been intriguing you to use Smartsheet for your agile work, and hopefully see you soon again for one of your 15-minute consultations. For those of you who asked a question with a registered email and didn't receive an answer, you will receive an answer by email shortly. So we will try to, of course, answer everybody so that no questions go unanswered.
Yes, perfect. And feel free to connect with us via LinkedIn as well. Follow our AMX site on LinkedIn. We always share some insights regarding Smartsheet, and we plan to do a lot of webinars. So we will always come up with an interesting topic for you guys to discuss it with you and to show you a bit around how to use Smartsheet for different use cases. Great. Thank you very much, guys. I wish you an amazing, amazing day. It was a pleasure. I hope to see you soon and try out to do Agile project management in Smartsheet and register for a session with us. Then we can help you with it. Nice. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Have a great day.